Hello and welcome back. We are now talking about CSS classes, and in this chapter, in this video, I'm going to talk about the different kinds of classes that you use in CSS and what is the purpose of using classes in CSS. Okay, a few examples ago you learned that the CSS has selector, okay, in curly bracket property value. Okay, this is a typical syntax of the CSS language, and the selector were all HTML elements. Okay, and the selector could be anything, could be paragraph element, could be background element, color, any kind of element. It was an HTML element. Okay, for example, we had decided to make the h1 element blue. We could say h1. Remember, we did that. I'm just revising and I'm trying to explain how classes are connected to CSS. Color blue. Okay, what happens when this works? Well, if you want all headings to be blue, okay, supposing you have a web page and all the headings in the web page need to be blue. But what if you only want some of your headings to be blue and the rest should be, maybe pink in color? There's this whole theme of blue and pink going on in your web page. And that's the whole purpose of adding style sheet program. You want to be able to modify and have more control and flexibility over your web page. So parts of your h1, parts of your headings are blue in color, but some of the headings are pink in color. How do you do that? Okay, you want the color of your headings to reflect the theme that goes on. Okay, in this case you need classes. You don't want to go and add inline CSS wherever you need the pink h1. That would not be a good programming practice. That would be okay if you have only 2 pink headings. Supposing you have like 30 headings, are you going to write 30 blue headings, and out of the 30 headings you want to have at least 18 pink headings? I mean, are you going to add inline code, inline CSS in each of those 18 pink headings? Not practical at all, not feasible. What you would do is create one class, okay, create one class of pink heading and keep calling that class again and again whenever you need it. Instead of writing the entire style code for pink heading again and again 18 times at 18 different places of the HTML code, you are just going to call the class. So that is the purpose of the class. Classes give reusability to your code. Okay, in CSS, classes allow you to apply a style to a given class of an element. Okay, so in for example, h1 is an element. You need to create a style, you need to create a class of this element. Okay, I'm going to delete all of this and I'm going to write a class for you. Okay, let me first explain. In order to do this, you link the element to the style by declaring a style for the class, then assigning that class to the element. Okay, it doesn't make sense now, not that much sense. I will explain this step by step, just hang in there. So CSS class syntax, let's do that first. Okay, you declare a CSS class by using a dot followed by class name, like this dot. For example, this is the name of the class name. Okay, this is a common naming convention. Property, okay, double colon, value, semicolon, curly bracket close. This is the syntax of declaring a class within your HTML file. This means that you are going to call a class, okay, within your HTML file. Just hang it there. If you want to use the same class name for multiple elements but each with a different style, you can prefix the dot with the HTML element name. For example, HTML element name dot class name, curly bracket open, property value. Let me try to apply this in our own example. Just be careful of the syntax, okay? It's a slightly different. Always make sure your syntax is correct. For example, h1, okay, that's the name of the element, not within the tag, I'm sorry, h1 dot class name, whatever is the name of the class, okay, and the property is defined here. For example, color, value is pink. Okay, so what's the difference between writing CSS code and writing a class? A class is contained within a CSS file, okay, and a class is called externally. It's either linked with your HTML file or it is called externally. And I explained that in the previous video when I explained implementing CSS. There are 4 different ways of implementing CSS. This is one of the ways, okay, calling classes with the aid of code that either calls it externally or links it to the file. If you want to use the same class name for multiple elements, for example, you can use the prefix like this. You can just add dot class name, and in front of the dot you need to write the element name. Okay, I'll explain this to you when I'm writing code. For example, let's begin writing the code for the class. And when you're done writing the code for the class, you're going to see something like this implemented. CSS class. CSS classes can be useful. That's what we're creating right now. And I'm just going to tell you how the code is organized so that you can tell the difference between plain HTML code and classes. Okay. Create a head tag. Okay. And style. Type is equal to text slash CSS. Okay, that's the type of style. Okay, now it is applied to this element, the div element. Remember we did that in the previous course, HTML1. Div or division element is a section of code. Okay, so you're applying this style, this class to this section, div dot CSS section, curly bracket open, border, double colon, 1 pixel, dotted red, okay, semicolon, and curly bracket close. Okay, in the next line use another element, paragraph dot CSS section, call the CSS section file again, okay, and curly bracket open, color green, okay, semicolon, curly bracket close, and then close the style tag. Okay, this is one way of implementing classes. Close the head tag. Clear? Now I'm going to add another space here to differentiate. Open the body tag, and within the body tag write div, that's the element of HTML, class is equal to CSS section, which means, what does this mean? CSS class. You are calling CSS section class. Okay, this is not a dot here. Okay, you're calling CSS. I think I need to put a div. No. I need to apply this. Open the tag here. Yes. Open the division tag, and class is equal to CSS section, CSS class. You are calling, what I was trying to say was, you're calling the class CSS section. Okay, and the style defined with this class is the border around the text should be 1 pixel dotted red like this. Okay, and within the border you are writing the text, which means, my students, if you want to call this border anywhere in the page, you can call it again and again and add any kind of text inside it. Okay, CSS class, and then close the division tag. Let me add a space here. Just keeps things neater, doesn't have any effect on the code. Close the division tag and then open the paragraph tag. Within the paragraph tag, call the class is equal to again CSS section, and close the inverted commas, and then close this tag as well for the paragraph, and then write CSS classes can be very useful. Okay, and you can expect this color to be the color of the text to be the same color as defined here, CSS section color green, which means in this section, if any paragraph is used, it should be green in color. Okay, any kind of font or any kind of content should be green in color. That's what it means. And then you need to close the body tag. Okay, I'm going to save this and I'm going to try to refresh this. There you go. Okay, classes can be very useful. So this is your first example of CSS class. Okay, you have to practice this again and again in order to get the hang of it. What's exactly going on here? It's not that hard to grasp. Classes are easier. You can also select elements or classes that's nested within another element or class. For example, this guy here, div section, you could embed, for example, div.css section p. If you do section and you add p here, okay, if you add p here, you would have, what would happen if you add p here? You would immediately add this whole text within this border. Okay, which means anything that you write, the heading and text would be within this border. So you're nesting two elements within one class. Okay, so one major benefit of doing this is that you don't need to apply a class to every instance of an element when it's nested within another element that uses a class. Okay, so if two elements are using the same class, for example, two elements need to be placed within the dotted red border, you don't have to create two classes, or you don't have to write the code twice for border 1 pixel dotted red. You can just add p here. Okay, so for example, you just write head and then write style type is equal to text, CSS the same way. Okay, div.css section curly bracket open. Okay, instead of adding p here, we're not going to disturb the style section here. In the body tag, this is what I want you to do. Okay, you declared a division class, division tag. Within the division tag, you use the class property. You call the class is equal to CSS section. Okay, CSS class. Now before closing this division tag, just add a p here. Okay, add the paragraph tag here. Okay, write CSS class, and then within the division tag, nest the paragraph element. Then you should say CSS classes can be useful. Okay, I'll show you what this does. And then you close the paragraph tag like this. Okay, and the division tag is closed and you don't need this line anymore. What have you omitted? You don't have to do class is equal to CSS section again. Okay, and you have nested the paragraph within the division element. Okay, I'm going to save this again. Alright, save. Yes. And I'm going to save it again as the HTML file. Class examples. Alright. And I'm going to try to refresh this. There you go. CSS class. CSS classes can be useful. That's how it's been declared. Okay. Alright. Let me make sure that, yes, CSS border dotted and CSS section p dot CSS section color is equal to green. Now this color is supposed to be green, and I don't know why this yeah, this is black in color. This is supposed to be green. Let me check out where I made a mistake. Let me try to fix this mistake here. Okay. Yes, let me tell you why this is not implementing as green, because I made an error here. div.css section border 1 pixel dotted red. Okay, and then again you have to declare div, the division element dot css section p. Originally I was trying to do that. Yes, that's the right way to do it. div.css section p color green, okay, within the curly bracket, and then style. That's it. You do not need to add anything else. Just add a p here. div.css section p. Alright, I'm going to save it and I'm going to run this code. There you go. Colon green. Alright, with this I conclude my classes, and up next I'm going to talk about CSS ID. Okay, be prepared for that. Try to practice how to create classes and try to understand how we call classes within the HTML code, how we can implement classes without writing too many lines of code, and also we can embed classes within elements. We can nest elements within elements and call classes so that they are implemented together, just like we did here. Take care.